Everything about this title just tells me that I am in the wrong neighborhood and I should run away screaming, because this is not a description that gives me confidence. Just how bad could this be?
That you're sitting alone in a room full of strangers. You're here because you feel like you come across as awkward, not very social, and that
We are 12 seconds in and I already feel personally attacked. This is going to be a fun one, isn't it?
This comedy workshop might help that. You're nervous, but
I swear that's Nathan Fielder.
Class seems friendly, as do your fellow classmates, and you take comfort knowing
maybe you should watch that video next
for the same reason you are. The class begins, and your instructor proposes an exercise.
Be honest. Don't be funny. Rule of 3. I mean, the rule of 3 is just standard in most things, but...
One by one, each person around the room must, without words, do something to make the rest of the class laugh. And, oh God, you're going to embarrass yourself. You don't want to do this, but you notice as each person around the room pulls a silly face or strikes a funny pose, they're rewarded not only by the encouragement of the instructor, but with a polite smattering of laughter from the...
That is called pity laughter. That is worse than silence. Silence is, I took you serious enough to not actually respond. Pity laughter is, I don't take you serious enough to even do that because I just want you to leave. So I don't want you to feel too bad. This is bad. You should probably not know that because telling you the truth would hurt you more. Or, as what everyone else knows it as, the common response to going to a niece, nephew, son, daughter, brother's recital. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter when. Pity laughter. Even if it shouldn't be.
The rest of the room. And soon, people are smiling, having fun. It's still embarrassing, but it's like through this embarrassment, you're all in this together. You're a group, and that's what you tell yourself as your turn draws near.
This is next words that no one laughs when you do something stupid, because that is what I would fear right now.
All you have to do is something silly and everyone will laugh and you'll just be part of the group. No one thinks what you did was funny. The silence that follows becomes an infinity.
This isn't even stupid or scary, but for some reason it's freaking me out. Have you ever seen a video that so perfectly encapsulates every one of your nightmares? You're just sitting there going like, well, this is not fine. This is in no way, shape, or form fine. So apparently we're now having a massive therapy session of me being in pain. Well, time to suffer. What? Oh God, what's with the lights?
Hello.
Ooh. Actually, I haven't noticed his tattoos in a while. Those are actually really damn cool. There's social expert.
Uncomfortable about this scene, isn't there? But
a few things.
What is it? Is it embarrassment? Is it cringe? Or is it perhaps something a little deeper and more complicated?
Putting yourself in his feet and knowing exactly how that feels? Because yeah!
Too much of a bombshell, but I am not the most socially competent person. I am in fact exactly as socially adept as you'd expect from someone of whom a major life turning point was wrote a bunch of anime video essays.
I mean, admittedly, I'm in the same boat for even less reasons, so I have no right to say anything right now.
Scenarios scare me. They fill me with a dread I can only convey through this image.
Why'd you have to do me like this? I am not the right person to watch this. This is not something I don't find relatable. This is something I have lived, and I hate this.
Very occasionally, I will encounter a special piece of horror that bumps off that fear. One that creates a subtle, crawling terror that everyone around me despises me, in which I can hear the faint screech of a Nokia 3210 message alert. Why? Why does that blasted sound haunt me? This clip is one of those pieces. But
You know, I'm just going to say it right now. I thought this was just him digging into anxiety horror, which is what he did for the, what was it? I actually completely forgot the words of the liminal spaces. Yeah, there we go. But apparently it sounds like he's actually going into some type of media that explicitly is anxiety horror. I'm going to take this as a recommendation of things never to watch because I will not be able to do this otherwise.
But make no mistake.
Also, if I ever saw it
merely
unironically, it would probably kick my
diving
ass.
board from which we will plummet into the abyss of social anxiety horror. And if you're wondering just how deep and disturbing this abyss can be,
What? Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
it can be very disturbing. And if I was to
Invictus,
begin
an
to
introvert's
show
nightmare?
this,
Yes.
I would arrange for you 3 short tales of social anxiety terror.
Only 3. I could do this. No, I can't. Why is he just staring at me? Stop. Stop. Oh, that's the point. You're making it socially awkward. I'm not just...
Which is what I have done.
This video is going to trigger everything I didn't even know I was triggered by. Oh, dear God. Fear of perception. This is why you should intentionally go and be an
girl
idiot.
sits in class clearing
easier.
notifications from her phone
What
when she
the-
notices that the room around her has fallen silent. She looks up and sees her teacher, who's just standing there, staring at her. The woman's face frozen in this eerie, empty expression.
Okay, he's literally describing middle school for me, so this is actually relatable. You know, I never said that about anime. I don't even know what anime this is, and yet somehow... Oh, God.
In fact, it's everyone. Everyone is just silently staring at her. Uncomfortable, the girl leaves, only to find the people in the hallway outside also standing silently.
I'm just internally telling myself right now that she just let off the most epic fart ever, and people are in shocked awe of it. Because if I think anything else right now, I am literally going to start panicking. I'm sure. You said this is basically just a group therapy session? Yeah, except mine is a therapy, a more self-harm session. Hey, you know that thing you're absolutely terrified of and it's going to be thrown in your face? Have fun.
Staring at her, their faces locked in the same blank expression. No matter where
This
she
is why
looks, all
mannequins
she
are
sees is
creepy.
a
They just
mass
stare
of
blankly.
dead eyes boring into her, trapping her in this strange nightmare where she is just endlessly perceived.
Also, is this exactly how paranoid schizophrenia works? The perception that people are stalking you, watching you, and just always staring at you and you can't get away? In which case, I hope I'm wrong because that sounds horrible. No idea what anime that is. Oh, that's just one. Fear of humiliation. This one, though, there is a very easy cure to fear of humiliation. Start a YouTube channel. You will be humiliated constantly by things that you have done to yourself, and admittedly, it's a lot easier to do when you're just talking to people through a screen. Because if this was a live audience right now, you would be watching me have a panic attack and freeze up on stage and maybe topple over without actually moving any parts of my body at the same time, which admittedly would be a little impressive in hindsight. But at the moment, I would be absolutely catatonic.
Ichi sits in class,
Gundam.
having just returned.
Actually, this has to legitimately be a Gundam show because even this much of a reference might get you sued by Sunrise. I'm not sure if it'd be successful, but they've done dumber things. Although they're not as bad as Disney.
From recess, and unbeknownst to everyone around him, he's just done something he shouldn't have.
What?
See, Ichi is the school's star baseball player and most popular boy in class,
Did he
and
do something
about
horrible?
to run for student president. However, a strange report has been swirling around town. A boy with a bent baseball bat is attacking
paranoia
people
agent,
at
right?
night, whose description
Little slugger, I think?
runs suspiciously close to Ichi's. Ichi watching as his once gleaming reputation corrodes under the weight of the rumors that he is the one doing these.
Oh shit, the cat's getting in. 1 second, this is bad. Hey Alicia? Yeah. Sorry, cat. Sorry about that. I cracked the door so my office wouldn't burn up, but the cats are trying to get in, and the cats like to chew wire, so, I need to find a better way to do this. Oh, God.
Awful things. And Ichi knows just where those rumors are coming from. Oshi, the other boy running in the student election. So Ichi has no choice. He lures Oshi behind the school, where he screams at him, insulting Oshi's weight and assaulting him, demanding he stop doing this. But Oshi, through tears, says he doesn't know what Ichi's talking about. Afterwards, Ichi sits in class, only for his phone's message alert to sound. And that's when, in horror, he sees it. Someone was recording what happened behind the school.
Oh, so before it was just allegations, and now it's like, hey, by the way, you live down to them. It's like, on the one hand, I never had a reputation to empathize with that. On the other hand, I've actually never done anything so incredibly stupid recorded on video that would ever be brought up again in a negative nature, because nothing like that has ever happened. There's literally nothing in the backlog of videos on the channel that would ever indicate that was a possibility. I'm not empathizing with this at all right now, and it's not actually hitting way too close to home. And there is nothing here I am worried about that is causing me to freak out. Nothing at all. This is fine. This is fine.
And if this gets out, everyone will think the rumors are true. Ichi's reputation will be ruined.
Yeah. The irony, of course, being that this is from Paranoia Agent, I'm pretty sure is either 2000s or 90s. Probably 2000s. And nowadays, this is just generally a bad take on Twitter. Fear of paranoia. See, this is why you should just do something incredibly stupid, because that way it's not paranoia if it's actually happening. It's not a safe way to do it or the smart way, but it does take care of it not being real.
Mr. Oregon is a 2022 documentary in which filmmaker and journalist David Airier begins to investigate a string of unusual incidents, at the center of which seems to be a man known as Mr. Oregon. The more David tries to find out about who this person is, the more wrong everything starts to feel. People David interviews become panicked and frightened when Mr. Oregon is brought up. They warn David to stay away from him.
Like what? He's gonna make you an offer you can't refuse?
Some even refusing to speak to David, asking their names be left out of the documentary. And soon, David begins to notice property.
This is more along the lines of a Blair Witch style movie, right? Not an actual documentary. Like a documentary in movie format, or a movie of a documentary that doesn't exist. I'm assuming.
From around his home, he starts to receive long, unhinged phone calls and can't shake the creeping sensation.
Oh shit, the cat got in. Can you just close the door? Thank you. Got in again. Yeah. So on top of everything else, I just felt something randomly brush against my leg. That doesn't make this any less creepy. On the upside, it's an adorable kitten. So if I feel anything else now that the door is closed, it's not the cat anymore. Yeah. Also, what they're describing right here is legitimately a way that crazed stalkers do behave. So this is not real, with the asterisks indicating that it can be.
That he is being watched. Mr. Oregon has noticed David, and the two begin to form a bizarre relationship filled with vague threats and subtle psychological manipulation.
Oh, God.
Culminating in a phone call where Mr. Oregon tells David, "You need to be more careful about the people you allow into your personal life."
I mean, admittedly, that's good advice regardless, but I think it's way more threatening if I knew the context, which I'm making a point not to think about.
"Because one of them has reached out to me, a stranger, and provided me a key to your home." You're watching this and it's like, this can't be real. This has to be another attempt by Mr. Oregon to scare David.
I mean, those things are doable if you know how to get them or how to break into someone's home. Granted, usually getting the key is not the next step.
Till Mr. Organ agrees to return the key, and when David tries it in his lock, it actually works, creating this moment of nearly surreal paranoia. David having to come to terms with the fact that someone in his personal life may wish him some strange harm.
Okay, 1, that's 4 tails, not 3, sir. 2, that last part right there, that is how some crazed stalkers work. Usually they don't do the entire send you the key. They usually show you the key because they've used it on your door to get in there. And it's not the most common thing. Most of the time it's more people who think it's happening and it isn't. But when it does happen, shit gets creepy really fast. Fear of... Wait, what did that say? Stick t-shirts? Oh, sick t-shirts. I don't get this either, though.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
Do you ever want to just hurt?
Oh, it's one of the ads for his
That
stuff.
humiliating footage of Crow.
Is that a
right? Can you
clown?
imagine thinking you're so strong and cool, and then one day just
Kim
bam,
Angel?
that happens? And then some little angel films it and uploads the vid for the whole city to see.
Seriously, Eyepatch Wolf, if you're trying to beat the allegations that you're making your own anime series, you're not doing a good job. Even if it's done in this style, why aren't you on it?
I don't know about you
Donation. I will pay to spit on me. Lol, she got destroyed, used to like... What?
guys, but I would actually want to die. Like, actually. Like,
Really? Because I thought that scene made you want to root for her because she was the underdog. Maybe I'm just weird.
crawl into the gutter and never show my ugly face.
When are we getting the Super Eyepatch Wolf anime?
You want to know what I
Of course, it's a crazy clown. Are those
In
panties?
honor of the little skank's long overdue downfall, I'm gonna be dropping a very special
Precious
merch run,
memories.
featuring not only that pathetic waste of skin at her absolute worst, but also our
Okay, can we just admit that is a really cool t-shirt? Best ad drop ever.
girl damage, who we can all thank for bringing that disgusting
Also really cool.
crashing down to earth. And you love supporting your angel mama, right?
Evil
Then
clown.
Get your cute little butts over to eyepatchwolves.com.
Evil clown.
Pronto.
Why isn't this an anime yet?
Okay, that last one was actually the announcement for my new run of merch for my fake anime / video game.
Get on the fake part. Seriously, you're already doing your own animations. At some point, someone's just going to bug him about it in his personal life. It's like, dude, stop. Just do it. Just do it. And it'll be done. It'll be awesome. And why isn't it?
Eyepatch Wolves, including
I've watched an ad and I want
new
an actual
piece
show
of
based on the ad.
Clown girl everyone seems weirdly into, but hey, look,
No, not weirdly. It's a thing. Not my thing. But, I'm just going to throw it out there. I watched when the Game Grumps, because my wife was watching when the Game Grumps played Phoenix Wright and they got to the clown and, or maybe it wasn't the Game Grumps. Yeah, it was someone, whatever. Yeah. I remember let's go with memes around that.
no judgment, but seriously, thanks to everyone who heads on over to eyepatchwolves.com.
I need to get one of
YouTube
these one of
will
these days.
probably demonetize this video, so thank you for
Oh, I don't know why. What could possibly happen that would already make this demonetization worthy? I mean, it'll use clips from anime, and sometimes if it's a Sony-based company, they would actually take even that. But still, the video's still up, so it's probably not Sony.
keeping me alive.
Okay, I'm gonna try and be spooky again. So just
Oh no,
just
I
give me
wish
a
you
sec
wouldn't. That's
here,
fine.
so
You
it's
can go
not
back to
jarring
not
and
spooky.
I'm hoping from these stories you're starting to get a sense of the particular kind of horror we're talking about.
I know these type of anime. I make a point never to watch them because they're freaky. There's lines. My line is ever doing these. So this is going to be fun if that's just the first three to illustrate what we're getting into.
This subtle, insidious dread that isn't violent or supernatural, but one that merely haunts the spaces between you and other people. And I chose these particular clips because I think each one shows that idea through a different lens. Perception, humiliation, and paranoia. These are the 3 building blocks of social anxiety horror.
The first 2 I think are perfect matches. The last one, I don't really think it's paranoia because he's been given distinct evidence to understand that it's not paranoid. It is very much real. The thing about paranoia is you have to be unsure if it's real for it to be absolutely scary, because the unknown is what really gives it legs. This is kind of a cop-out because, yeah, he got the key. Someone is very much okay with fucking him up in some way, shape, or form. To what extent? Don't know. But they're doing it. Also, he's basically just talking about a nicer hand of the mob than normal.
And when you find someone who really knows how to use them, it can create a distinct kind of terror unique to anything else.
So, like, I'm just focusing on something to distract myself
A small
from all
town
this.
in rural America.
Oh, what is this?
The villagers move through a morning that should be like any other.
You know, if there's one thing I've ever learned, if you talk about a morning in small town America, it's going to be followed by something really fucked up. It's just a thing. We don't have normal small towns that don't follow by, and that's when they found the body. Just wait for it. It's going to be something along those lines.
However, it isn't. Today is the day of the lottery, an annual
It's lit. For anyone who doesn't know, this is an old, I think 1700s story. I think it's, you know, I knew the author's name, but I never liked the story and I absolutely despised it. So I made a point to forget their name. Basically, everyone has a lottery and the winner is sacrificed because it's good for everyone else's morality. The main character's kids are picked. Or I think it was her, and then everyone turns on her and they stone her to death because, well, don't worry, love, I'm going to murder you softly with this rock because you won the lottery. It's just dystopian, except it's also puritanical, written in a fantasy version, but also completely in line with how the author thought the system kind of worked, where it's like, we'll fuck you over because everyone else has to be better.
tradition that draws the villagers to the town square,
lottery.
and as per usual, a gathering alive with chatter as children play and collect
Stones.
piles of stones.
Got it.
The chatter continues
Frickin' old
until a
book.
man carrying a black wooden box emerges and takes his
They made
place
movies about
in
this too,
front
like
of the large
short
crowd
15-minute
as
ones.
the hushed voices turn silent. After a brief roll call, the man begins to list out the names of the villagers, starting at the A's and working all the way down to the Z's. And as he does, one by one, each villager comes to the front of the crowd and picks from the black box a small slip of folded
This
white
just
paper,
gets more and more
without
fucked
checking
up.
it, take their place back beside their family. Once all the villagers have a piece of paper, the man with the black box tells them to open it, and as they do, pockets of relief can be heard throughout the village, each and every person revealing to the people around them that their paper is stark white. Well, every villager
But the main character,
except one. One woman opens her paper to reveal that it is not blank, but instead
no.
stained with a jagged black smudge.
This is one of those stories where violence would have improved it. Not violence gets hurt, but everyone else, because have I mentioned already that I absolutely despised this story? It's literally a case of, see, this is a morality play. These people are horrible for scapegoating someone and making them the sacrifice to do all the horrible things. This is why puritanical justice didn't work, because they did the same thing. Also, punch people in the face. They deserve it. But that's not how it went.
People begin to move away from the woman, and as they do, she begins to rant and rave. This isn't fair. This isn't right. She didn't have enough time to pick her paper. Her objections are cut short when a stone smashes her in the side of the head. And then they were upon her. What I just read is an abridged version of a short story called The Lottery by Shirley Jackson.
Oh, Shirley Jack. She did the yellow wallpaper, didn't she? That's the one.
who we will come to know as the grandmother of social anxiety horror.
Of course you're using more of her stuff. It's definitely... I referenced the yellow wallpaper. That is an example of a woman being hysterical. So they treated it by locking her in a yellow room until she became crazy. And then that solved all the problems, because if she's insane, not hysterical. That's a completely different thing. You can't solve being a woman, which is literally the point of the entire story, to prove that's stupid. Again, it's part of the reason I like shonen things, because I get to see people punch the violence in the face. Sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically, but they do, and it's so very satisfying, because I grew up on stories like this instead. A lot of times people go from shonen into things like this that are more highbrow. I went from highbrow into I hate highbrow. I want to go lowbrow and see it punched in the face. And I stand by my reasoning.
Jackson was born in 1916, and in time would
1900s,
stop being a
really?
baby and begin writing
I thought it was earlier.
strange horror stories.
That's on me then.
Strange because they featured no ghouls or ghosts, but merely the quiet terror of small towns and vicious whispers.
I mean, nowadays this wouldn't even be horror. This would just be fiction about internet society. So it's not even any less relevant than it used to be, and I hate everything I just said.
Sometimes her stories are so subtle and strange, it's almost hard to tell where the horror is coming from, and yet they're effective because they're built around these more social fears. For example, a woman walks the streets of New York. She's been tasked by her employer with delivering a package. However, she can't help but notice something unusual. The city's walls are covered with strange posters, each one with screaming red letters that read, "Find Miss X." The person that does promised a range of ludicrous prizes: a trip to Tahiti, a private yacht, a pearl necklace. The woman ignores the posters and goes about her day, but as she
At some point, I would just say the best thing you can do is to turn yourself in for the prize, because someone's going to do some horrible things to you otherwise.
does, a truck with speakers begins to follow her, and from it blares a voice.
Find Miss X for a range of fabulous prizes. She's currently walking alone in the city. She's wearing a blue suit, a blue hat, a red coat, and carrying a single package.
Shocked, the woman stops. I'm
Can't say I know this
wearing
story.
my blue hat. I have on my red coat. I'm carrying a package. That's me he's talking about. Mortified, the woman quickens her pace to get away from the truck, but the deeper she goes into the city, the more it seems to surge with madness and excitement over this.
Am I the only one looking at this entire video so far and just thinking, oh, this is paranoid schizophrenia simulator? Of course. It could very well be that. I mean, they're very similar in how they actually are expressed sometimes. Sometimes.
This bizarre contest. She finds herself surrounded by massive Miss X billboards. It's on the
she work
front
for
of
Disney or
every
something?
newspaper, and its flyers cover every lamppost, all describing her. Feeling the eyes of everyone around her, the woman ducks into a shop, where she buys a grey hat, stowing her old blue one in a hat box, which does mean carrying two boxes, but it's worth it to avoid the embarrassment. She makes her way back out onto the street, only to encounter a grotesquely massive parade for Miss X,
What?
from which a man with a microphone bellows to a frenzied crowd.
Miss X has swapped her blue hat for a brand new grey one and is now carrying two packages. She is still
What?
wearing her red coat.
I have no idea what this one's based on.
Miss
I thought I recognized it.
This
Nope,
story
I definitely
is
do not.
titled Nightmare, and notice how eerily similar it is to the scene we talked about from Lane.
So it's probably an expression of someone. I'm honestly, I was going to say describing what they thought a paranoid schizophrenic moment would sound like. But honestly, I don't know, because I haven't done that. And it's one of those things that ever freaked me out. So I never looked into it that much. I'm going to assume it is, but also I want to be wrong, because that's freaky as fuck, man.
And that's because they're both drawing on the same morbid fear of being perceived. A fear so...
I mean, admittedly, this one is just being stared at. The other one was, they're out to get you literally, so...
fundamental and primal that it has a name, scopophobia.
Oh.
And you likely have felt some shred of scopophobia at some point in your life. The
Yeah.
anxiety of performing on stage, the fear of giving a presentation, the
Oh,
horror
God, yes.
of thousands of dead-eyed strangers watching your YouTube video. Oh God!
I do not empathize with this at all. Can you imagine if there was people watching me live while I did stupid stuff on camera? Ah, ha ha, ha. That is way too not alcohol for my taste right now.
Well, we don't know when Jackson wrote Nightmare.
Jackson.
It was
Oh,
likely
Shirley
sometime
Jackson
in
again,
the
of course.
1940s. But despite the
course
near
it's Shirley
100
Jackson.
years since its creation, I think it's kind of incredible how resonant that fear still is. This is something
Social media
special
does
about
this a lot.
Jackson's work. She captures these timeless anxieties that are as relatable now as when she wrote them. And fear of perception isn't the only one. Hey.
This is... Okay, one, I paused at the best moment for cute puppy is adorable. I definitely need that because I am literally in a cold sweat right now, which is actually a little comfortable because it's freaking hot in here. So a cold sweat is actually cooling me down. On the other hand, I don't like the reason. And I apparently have convinced Saddleback to subscribe to Super Eyepatch Wolf. Yeah, no, he does amazing video essays, but he covers some fucked up shit, man.
Hey, so this next section contains descriptions of people being horrible to a dog, and I know that's especially upsetting to some
What?
people, so skip here if you would rather just avoid it altogether.
I'll be completely honest, I want to avoid that altogether, but I'm going to do this for the chat. And hopefully I'm going to put up a poll and ask everyone if they would like to avoid this altogether. Please ask to not do that. I would much prefer not to. So I'm going to put a poll. Dog story. Here, I'll put it in here so you can see it going live. I can spell the word story. Dog story. I don't know what a Q&A is. Dog story? What does this do? That is not a poll. I do not know what that does. Well, it looks like we got one person saying we do it. Oh, it's people just talking directly in right there. Oh, so this is a way to directly interact with people here. Well, we got Bourgeois saying we do it. So that's one person going for horrible stories about people doing this to dogs. That will definitely not make me skip ahead. I need to just remember that when it's too much for me, I can skip ahead to 1857. 1857. Siren going watch it. Okay. This is fine. And ooh, we got one for Skip. One for Skip. Hurricane for Skip. Pale said do it. Victor Black would do it. The worst part is every person here talking right now could only be a subscriber, so I actually want to listen to their opinions. That's the downside. Normally, if it wasn't subscriber only chat right now, I'd be like, okay, I gotta ignore this. It's not. We got no, don't do it. No, don't do it. This is how this works. Shall we do it? Skip for your health. Nicholas, I'm well beyond that one at this point. Also, with how much caffeine I consume, it's probably never going to be a thing. Ooh, also, Pilo just did a super chat one. Thank you. And two, you originally suggested pulling out the Space Maids after hand plates, but you might need it sooner. Yeah. 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 Looks like we got most of the people saying, I don't know. I'm going to end the Q&A and just put up a poll. Because I don't know how to do polls to save my life. Space Mates, I might actually have to check out sooner. Let's try an actual poll, though. Yes, no. The obvious answer. Best question, dog. Does dog win? And Game Lord said save the puppy. I don't think that's an option we can have in this one. Oh, hey, look, No is winning. I like this. No is good. Let's hope No wins on this one. Oh, and oddly enough, Potato is not winning. Now that is surprising. Usually Potato wins. Don't do it. The story is bad. Do not do it. Matthew, I'm going to take your word on this one. Yeah. And assume it's Elfin Lord of Shadows, oh God, no, it's not Elfin. Oh no, it's a real dog picture. I hate everything about this right now. Oh God, oh God, oh God. I might have cats, but I still like dogs, damn it. Okay, I'm going to take this as verification that I can now ignore the pain. And thank you for everyone who voted no. For the 34% of you who voted yes, oh God, why? I mean, you're here. I know exactly why. I'm aware of what my audience enjoys. Potato? Classy. Nice. I'm just going to skip that one because I would like to not have that nightmare in my head on top of everything else. I got enough of those that this video is already supplying. I'm going to just take a little break. Okay, that definitely counts as a break. Not what I was expecting, but okay. Starting now, and yeah. And Siren said, cowards? Yes. Yes, I am. And I am very much okay with that. Oh, God.
From its body. This story is called Renegade, and even by Jackson's very high standards,
Shirley Jackson
it is
again.
Strange, morbid, and cruel. But rather than this being a story about a village that is mean to a dog, which is a kind of horror I want no part in, but
Yes.
I think at the core of this story is the idea of humiliation. Humiliation in modern parlance usually means extreme embarrassment, or like that time my accountant looked up my Muramasa and the Demon Blade Kongiku figure before stating in cold monotone, I don't think this is tax deductible, but the...
Wait, did you actually ask to deduct that? Even I wouldn't do that. I got anime figures behind me. They do not get tax deducted. Apparently there is a way you can argue it. I did not want to ever actually have to make that argument to the IRS because it would then be in writing, and I don't think I could survive that. Oh, I get where he's going on this one. Yeah, that makes sense.
Actual dictionary definition of humiliation
What?
is to have one's social standing lowered in the eyes of others.
Ha! Way ahead of you on that one. I have no social standing. Being a shut-in who barely goes outside and has literally no human interaction definitely makes it easier to not give a fuck. And this entire video is proving I'm making the right choice.
And that's exactly what we saw in the clip of Paranoia Agent from earlier, and why it's so unsettling, as well as this story. The woman doesn't want to do these awful things to her dog, but has also been humiliated to the point that she no longer has the social standing to push back against them.
This is one of the reasons I like people who do embrace the individual aspect, or sorry, I can't speak today, individualization or individual self-actualization. There's fancy words in there. I'm going to assume I said one of them correctly. It's basically saying, telling everyone else to go fuck themselves and doing what you want. Because it seems like this where it's like, yeah, society's a bit overrated. We really shouldn't. Just no. Say no to society, kids.
The story's title, Renegade, literally meaning a person who betrays the beliefs of an organization or community. I know that's 2 dictionary definitions in the one paragraph, but words change meaning over time, and I thought their original context was important. Look, I'm not reaching to make a point. You're reaching to make a fucking point! Final story of Jackson's I want to talk about begins...
There's another one of, we're only 20 minutes into all of the Shirley frickin' Jackson stories. I already knew I needed to avoid this specific author like the plague because she's a good writer. Unfortunately, she's a good writer of things that I cannot tolerate because they just hit hard. Okay, one more.
With a woman waking on the morning of her wedding,
Yeah.
ecstatic to be marrying the dashing man of her dreams. Only there's a problem. This man has disappeared. Panicked, the woman searches all over town, asking, has anyone seen her fiancé? But most people act like they don't know where he could be.
Okay, this is actually a trope of just displacement that's in a lot of anime, and it's well done, and I hate it. Also, this is literally how it must feel for everyone who gets stuck in a romance scam. I've been watching a lot of CoffeeZilla, so scams are on the mind right now.
She traces his steps back to an old apartment building,
Was
which
it
he
a
was
ghost
seen
story?
entering holding a bouquet of flowers. Not wanting to acknowledge what this might mean, she enters the building.
Is she
but
an old
finds
woman as well?
only a strange locked door, behind which she can hear a low, distant laughter. Her
I don't think this is the one where it turns out she's sleeping with the corpse, but I don't actually know if it isn't. It's been a while and I don't want to double check.
fiance's laughter. She bangs on the door, praying that her fiance answers, praying that he can explain all this away, but he does not. No one answers her cries. Day after day, the woman returns to the door, hoping to find her lost fiance, and people laugh at her and mock her, but no one ever answers the door. The story is titled The Demon Lover. There's two things that really get me about this story. And the first is the crawling sense of paranoia and the woman's slow realization that this person she thought she knew actually has this awful capacity to do her harm. Much like the realization David faces in Mr. Organ when the key slides into his door. The paranoia that the people around us may not be who we think they are. The second is there's something about this story that just feels so jagged and cruel, something that I only started to understand when researching into Jackson's personal life.
Oh god, we're going... I did not look up Shirley Jackson's personal life on purpose. There's a lot of writing, major bullshit that involves getting into a lot of authors' personal lives, and without fail, they are fascinating stories until you realize it happened to a actual person, and then it's really, really screwed up. Take Hemingway, for example. He was the big macho man. He wrote stories about macho men, but usually with that twist of, and then they lost their machismo and they had horrible lives that they regretted existing in and were suffering constantly. All Quiet on the Western Front. The Sun Also Rises is the big one. Snows of Kilimanjaro. So when he experienced that himself and his machismo was stripped away from him because he had multiple accidents, he took the same route as his father did many years ago by embracing the taste of metal. And I'm not going to say more than that because you could probably assume exactly how this went. That is not the worst writer story out there. Because of that, I made a point never to look up what Shirley Jackson did or experienced because I've already seen, and we have seen examples of what her writing already sounded like. I don't know her biography, but I'm assuming there is stuff in it that is going to be bad, unless she's like the weirdo out there who has the most dark and disturbing and fucked up writing possible, and they have a bright, sunny life, and they're really enjoyable, and they're just happy every day, and it's just like, hey, I'm always happy, so I'm gonna write about stuff that isn't because it's different than my normal life, which is really freaking weird, man. But it's the thing, it does happen. Oh yeah, blah blah gamer, you seen an issue where you click on my page and it says error 404 not found? Yeah, I've had that too lately. It's because YouTube added the @ symbol to everyone's gamer, or it's not gamer tag, to user channel IDs. So you need to add the tag to it. Except YouTube doesn't automatically add it anymore. So yeah, the system's just kind of broken. It's the same name, just with the @ symbol, because that's what they changed everything to. It's stupid. It's what they did. I have literally no control over it. They'll fix it or they won't, and maybe in a decade we'll find out which one they chose.
Jackson's husband was a notorious adulterer.
Got
A
it.
fellow writer, he would frequently sleep with his own students. Other writers, people Jackson would have known.
This is the 1900s. There's a very good chance this guy did know Epstein. I hate everything about this because I'm assuming it's wrong, but also, ooh.
And while I can't say for certain, it sure feels like that anxiety, that paranoia, is what Jackson was drawing upon
Demon lover.
in this story. But
The man you
that's
know
what
is not the
Jackson
man you knew.
did. Jackson was raised by deeply traditionalist socialites who took issue with both her fluctuating weight, introverted nature, and love of writing.
And socialites in early 1900s. So this would probably be people who had the height of their personal acclaim in the 20s. Because 20s. And she would have lived... Nope, actually, she was writing in the 16s, so she probably didn't get the 20s on this one. I don't know how it was prior to that. I'm assuming it probably the same level of fucked up, though.
According to her brother, their mother was a deeply conventional woman who was horrified by the idea that her daughter was not going to be deeply conventional, the kind of person to whom there was nothing more frightening than the disapproving whispers of neighbors.
Oh,
That's
God, that
the fear
idiot.
Jackson grew up alongside, and
This is one of the reasons I'm really glad my family is a bunch of weirdos and freaks who are like, hey, cool, you quit your job, you decide to leave that Fortune 500 company and go open an art studio in like California or San Diego suburbs, but it's not actually a suburb yet because not enough people have moved there yet, so it's technically still the middle of nowhere. Neat. That's my aunt. Well, technically my great aunt. Yeah. I'm glad my family's weird because the more I hear about normal families, the more I'm like, I'm okay with passing. This seems fucked up.
What is so palpable in her writing? Jackson drew her horror from the simple social anxieties she experienced every day, and I think that's a big part of what's so powerful, not just about her own work, but about social anxiety horror in general. Most of us don't know what it's like to encounter the kinds of scenarios we see depicted in horror movies, but social anxiety horror does not grant us that luxury.
Which is why whenever you have a movie with a horrible, murderous, genocidal villain of unimaginable power that you cannot stop and is terrifying, what people usually gravitate to is the earlier scene where you see someone getting bullied and you hate the bully so much more than the murderous villain because you understand the pain of one where you can only intellectually know that the second one is bad. Yeah.
As fear of being perceived or humiliation or feelings of paranoia, we touch off those every day. And all a story like The Lottery does is take those fears and accentuate them into this.
Again, I still stand by the fact that The Lottery would have been better if it turned around that she had a bazooka and decided to go, YOLO, bitches! It would have still probably resulted the same for her, but fuck everyone else. Personal opinion, the fanfiction of it needs to be written. And I will then accept it as real because it is so freaking old. It is out of copyright protections. You can make your own version of it. In fact, I might just do that one day. We're like, I'm going to rewrite this so it's a little less infuriating. Is it going to be good? No, it's a complete power fantasy. But fuck this town. I think I'm actually talking myself into this. Huh.
Beautiful and brutal piece of terror, how Jackson likely saw the world. There is us, and there is the society around us.
Which would definitely
And at
involve her
any
family.
moment, the connections between the two might snap, letting us plummet into free fall.
I think the best way to describe it is she never actually had connections at that point. Because if they're so tenuous that they could break that easy, they weren't real to start with. But then finding out that what you thought was real isn't is the terror, so it makes sense.
But The Lottery is just a story. It's not like anything like that could ever...
Why? I don't even need to know what's about to happen next, Eyepatch Wolf. Why are you using this transition? I know what you are getting with on this. Why? Why are you just... He's going to pull out something where this actually happened. Bonjour, how much does a therapist cost in my area? Cost-wise, pretty easy. The waiting list is about 3 years. My wife has looked into it for her stuff. Yeah, no. It's a bad scene, man. A bad scene.
actually happen, right? Right? It's 2004. A fast food restaurant in Mount Washington, America. The supervisor of which has just received a strange phone call from a police officer. One of her employees has been monitored by his surveillance team carrying drugs and stealing from customers.
My God, a person at a fast food restaurant selling drugs. How absolutely shocking. Honestly, if this is actually her going, okay, yeah, so what? It's Thomas's 5th time. If that's not the exact answer, I am going to be very surprised.
The officer has the restaurant's area manager on the other line, and they've decided that for the sake of everyone, they'll need the supervisor's help to handle this as delicately as possible.
This is where you say fuck no and hang up.
Reluctantly, the manager takes the girl into a back room and tells her that she's going to need to search her belongings. And the girl, acts like she doesn't know why this would be necessary. And when the manager finds nothing, the officer insists that the girl is definitely carrying drugs, and now she'll need to be brought down to the station, arrested, and strip searched. Or
The crazy part about this right now, this thing on the phone where you just tell people you have authority and make them do things, it's not the same as what's happening here, but this is also the actual basis of most types of scams that impersonate authority. They say you need to do what I'm telling you to do because otherwise things will happen. So take actions that are stupid, like empty out your entire bank account and send it to me in gift cards. So even though this is not real, I hope he's saying this is not real, it kind of has exactly the part where it is actually real. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm assuming someone's impersonating an officer to fuck around with this, because if it was actually an officer, they would do it themselves rather than have some random person do it.
Or it might be easier on everyone, including the girl, if the supervisor carries out the search herself. The girl is appalled and upset. She claims she hasn't done anything, that none of this is necessary, but upon speaking to the police officer, he tells her that by resisting, she's making this more difficult for everyone else. And
Please tell me this isn't some kind of YouTube prank where they decide to do this and were filming themselves and like recording the audio and upload it, because this is the kind of fucked up shit I'm expecting at this point. I just saw the chat where people saying, yeah, this is a real story, according to Matthew Daughtry. I'm going to ignore that. And there's even a video of it, which I'm also going to ignore. You know what? I think we've reached a point today where I am now looking forward to hand plates. That is a thing that happened. I hate this.
that even if she's innocent, it will be easier for all involved if she just complies. Eventually, the employee gives in. Her clothes and phone are taken away, and she's searched head to toe. And this all happens in front of multiple other employees, some of whom even take turns watching and searching her. And some object, but no one does anything. Nothing is found, but rather than the ordeal ending, things only grow more bizarre. It's like everyone who
Cavity
speaks
search.
to the officer falls under some strange spell, and
People do stupid shit. And because they're already listening, they've convinced themselves it's real. Because as soon as you believe I've done this because the officer told me I had no choice, being told, no, it wasn't real, is then falling by, but you did have a choice and you still chose to do it. This seems to be, if Matthew's right, done in reality. But normally it's more along the lines of, and then you just transferred your entire bank account to someone because they said your social security number was compromised. And we're calling from the FBI police in DC, who are also part of the secret task force of Mexico and Canada.
slowly, the things he asks them to do grow more specific and cruel. The girl is left naked for hours. She's forced to do jumping jacks. She has her body inspected and described by multiple different people, is subjected to humiliating cavity searches. She is insulted. She is beaten, and she's forced to endure things I can't even talk about this video. It's like in the eyes of the people around her, the people she sees every day, she's stopped being a person, all under the careful instruction of this faceless police officer.
The general response, if you've ever have to endure this in person, is fuck you, call the police. I'm okay with it. And then actually call the police because they might actually do that and swat you.
Eventually, the supervisor decides to phone the area manager directly, and when she asks him about the investigation, he has no idea what she's talking about.
And there's a moment of realization. Really good on the actor for getting across the, oh shit, I've done all of this needlessly, and I decided to do it all every step of the way.
He hasn't heard from any police officer. In horror, the supervisor hangs up the phone.
I actually would like to just stop doing this right now, but I have a feeling whatever's about to happen is going to just be the finish to this, so I'm going to finish whatever the next segment is, and I'm going to go watch something happier. Maybe hand plates. Because right now, I just want to finish this, but I know I'm not going to, so what the fuck, Super Eyepatch Wolf?
What I just described is the plot to the 2012 film Compliance. It is a bizarre idea for a movie.
Just a movie.
A group of fast food workers fall under the strange hypnosis of some unknown figure on the other end of a phone. But maybe the strangest part is that this actually happened. The story is based off an incident that took place on April 9th, 2004 in a...
Again, what he's pointing out right here is apparently real, and I hate everything about this. But this is still a very common tactic to call in and say, you need to listen to me or you will be in trouble. Do exactly what I say or else. It's the basis of almost every goddamn scam out there.
A Mount Washington McDonald's. Minor details aside, this all happened to a real victim committed by the people she'd worked with. And
again, if anyone tried this shit on me, I would do things that would bring the real police there. Mostly probably trying to punch someone in the face. And admittedly, I think that was the right choice. Or just walk out because, fuck this, the job ain't worth it. They want to arrest me, they know where I live. I mean, I'm assuming they do because... Actually, I don't know why. Maybe they won't.
Trusted. There's even recorded security footage of the entire ordeal, as well as interviews with the McDonald's staff as they struggle to explain their actions.
And I'm assuming the first response was, I was just following orders. It doesn't work for Nazis! Doesn't work for you, lady!
And where this gets even more bizarre is that this is not the only time that this happened.
I know he's going to probably pull up another time where this type of horrible, sadistic bullshittery has happened. But again, it's the main point of every type of scam that involves invoking authority. Do what I want or it will be bad for you. Or you can do what I want and it'll be a little less bad.
A near identical incident took place at a McDonald's restaurant in Saybrook Township, Ohio. And also a Pizza Hut in Starkville, Mississippi, and also a Burger King in Fargo, North Dakota, a pizza parlor in Blackfoot, Idaho, a McDonald's in Litchfield, Kentucky.
See, the thing is, right now, he's trying to build up a list of, this is so shocking because it happens so much. And my entire thing is, I've already talked about how this is the basis of so many types of scams. If he only has a list and it's not already covering the screen in one point type, it's far less than it probably would be because this type of thing does work. Most people, when they're confronted by bad shit will happen to you, they will take what they perceive as the easiest way out, especially when someone is making a claim of authority. Because the first answer is not, why should I trust you? Are you real? Fuck you. Which admittedly seems to be the right answer in a lot of cases. It just doesn't surprise me. It's just really disappointing and fucked up.
A restaurant in Charlestown, West Virginia, a Burger King in Indianapolis, a McDonald's in Iowa, a Taco Bell in Statesboro, Georgia, an Applebee's in Davenport, Iowa.
Okay, that's actually surprising. That implies people went to Applebee's.
A McDonald's in Hinesville, Georgia, a Taco Bell in Juneau, Alaska, and many, many more. Over 70 different incidents
Winn-Dixie's
were
a real
reported
place?
across the US from 1992 to 2004, all following the same pattern.
12
An
years.
anonymous phone call from someone pretending to be a police officer who over the course of several hours convinces a group of people to turn on one of their own.
Because people have their own agendas, and carrying out your fucked up demands is their agenda.
I think the temptation in hearing a story like this is to say that that could never happen to me. How?
I mean, I don't think it would happen to me, but only because I'm a asshole, and my general response to most things is fuck you. So, yeah. But other people who are probably a little less fucked in the head would have the different reaction.
gullible were these people? However, I don't think this was a question of intelligence. Louise Ogborn, the original victim we talked about, was ranked top 10 in her high school and about to attend pre-med. The sheer volume of other people this has happened to makes it feel less about one person's intelligence
and more about how this is just tapping into most people's trust and authority. Because you represent yourself as someone trustworthy, so you, because of claiming to be part of the police, because of claiming to work with a manager, immediately get given credence that someone just randomly calling in and not saying all of that would not have.
and more like some strange exploit in the fundamental nature of how we are. Which brings
Literally
us
that!
to a question. What the fuck actually happened here? Well, two studies that may immediately answer that question are the Milgram electric shock test or the Stanford prison experiment. However, Milgram's
I've actually heard about this prison experiment, but I haven't tried it. But I'm pretty sure the shock test was, you get to shock someone, but if you don't, they get shocked worse. Maybe. It's up to you. How bad are you going to get just to follow orders?
findings have been recently drawn into question over issues in how he collected his data, and the Stanford prison experiment has widely been proven to be about as legitimate as my marriage to Rouge the Bat. However,
I mean, there are people with the actual certificates, so...
there is another study we can look to.
Oh, no.
One that arguably has even stranger implications in what that fundamental exploit might be. Oh, also, listen, I want to stress up front here that parts of this video bump off different avenues of social science, which I am not any kind of expert in. I have put a lot of work into understanding those concepts and representing them as best I can, but this video should not be taken as anything but a silly YouTuber talking about things they think are interesting. That's all. Okay, let's begin.
Nope, I'm at my limit. This is where we stop today. Just... yeah. To put this succinctly, fuck that shit. So for everyone watching, I will have a link below when the video goes live. Hit it up. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go find a cat and just shove my face into their floof and probably accept the scratches I get for doing something that's stupid to a cat that's most likely asleep. And I think the pain will be a nice distraction right now.